Welcome to this edition of Peak Performers Podcast with your host, Thor Conklin. Thor will be sharing the necessary tools, strategies, and psychology you'll need to become a peak performer in any area of your life or business.
Welcome back to another episode of the Peak Performers Podcast. I'm your host, Thor Conklin, and today we have an amazing individual for you. I am looking forward to this interview all week. Jeff Griffin. Living from a wheelchair, Jeff has accomplished some extraordinary things. He played in the 2004 Paralympic Games in Athens, Greece. He's a silver medalist in the wheelchair basketball. He is a NWBA national champion and four-time All-Star MVP. Jeff also won the St. George Marathon, has 2 Guinness World Book of Records. I want to know what those records are, by the way.
Okay.
An award-winning book titled I'm Possible, Desire, Dream, and Do. He earned his master's degree and created a worldwide peer-to-peer leadership program that was recognized by the United Nations. Man, that is an impressive bio, man. Well done.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
Well, give us a little background. You know, as I was going through things, you know, really as I saw kind of the overall theme here is solving for possible. Tell us a little bit about that and what that means to you.
Yeah, so when I was a little kid, the song that sang to my soul, Thor, was to play football in college. And everyone gave me all the reasons why I couldn't, or at least why they thought I couldn't. They're like, Griff, you're too short. Griff, you're too slow. Some even said I was too white. And, right? And I'm like, okay.
That with my dancing.
Right, absolutely. It's tough. And so, you know, you hear that all the time. And I've learned that by the time you're 17, you hear that word I can't 150,000 times compared to I can 5,000 times. And so, you know, I get it. It's tough. It's tough not to listen to the critics, especially, you know, when they're saying it so often. And what I've learned too is perhaps sometimes the biggest critic is ourselves.
Yeah.
And so long story short, I kept on chasing down my dream and, you know, I'm like, I want to play college football. And so one day after practice my senior year, I came home and there was a letter addressed to me and I couldn't believe my eyes. So I touched the embossed helmet just to make sure that I wasn't dreaming. And I opened up the envelope, pulled out the letter, and there was a letter from the legendary Hall of Fame coach Lavelle Edwards inviting me, the short, slow, white guy, to come play in college. And I was ecstatic. I was excited. And for that 1 year, I tasted the sweetness of success and played 2 downs. Got to experience what it would be like to be in the game, not just on the sideline, not just to have, you know, a jersey, but to be in the game playing. And I know there's a lot of people out there that are in the stands that would like to be on the sidelines. Maybe they're on the sidelines, but they like to be in the game. And that's what I'd love to do is to help people get into the game because I've experienced that. But long story short, in between seasons, Thor, I came home and I was working for myself, started my own business as a painter, not pictures, but buildings. And I was up 40 feet on some scaffolding, and the ladder and scaffolding slipped out from underneath me, and I fell. Stuck the landing perfect if I was a gymnast. I wasn't. I was a painter. And my legs came up, my back came down, and my L1 vertebrae exploded inside me, leaving me paralyzed from the waist down. And instantly, just like that, life changed. My dreams of playing football over. And I had a decision to make. I could, you know, stay in that syrupy, sticky sun of self-pity, or I could get back up and dream new dreams. And I decided to dream new dreams. And one of those dreams is to walk again. The doctors gave me a 0% chance, but that's one of the dreams I want to do. It's been over 20 years. But since then, I've just, you know, if I've been sitting around waiting for that dream to take place, to walk again, I wouldn't have accomplished anything. And so I decided, you know what, I'm going to live life to the fullest and chase down that dream of walking, but at the same time, taking advantage of what life has to offer. And so, you know, I've been paralyzed physically, and I believe most of us out there are paralyzed with the demons of doubt, fear and complacency. And what I'd love to do is just give people the tools of courage, confidence, and winning results.
This weekend, I was actually at a conference that I was speaking at, and I was asked to speak about leadership. And we were talking about, what great leaders do. And great leaders are born or chiseled or hardened through adversity. And when adversity strikes, leaders step up and they do whatever's necessary to get it done, get the job done, and become more. And so often, society will, as a result of adversity, just kind of shrink and just sit on the sidelines, get back in the stands. What was it about you that enabled you to stand up and really decide and take a stand of, I'm not going to let this define who I am. I'm going to work with this, and I'm going to accomplish greatness?
Yeah, great question. Great question, Thor. And honestly, I'd agree with you too that, I have been through the fiery furnace of affliction. And I think that experience, burned away the impurities and left a bunch of gold nuggets in front of me. And I gathered them up. I studied them. I practiced them. And I gave other people those truths that I've discovered as well. And one thing I discovered is I believe that too often we don't give ourselves permission to fail. And I tell everybody all the time that whenever you're starting to learn something, give yourself permission to fail, because failures at first are triumphs at last, as long as you just don't quit. And so often, though, we think that we have to get it right the first time, and we don't understand that struggle is where we find the strength, and we can fill up the tank and tap into the reserves of resilience. And I didn't realize that until after a major experience took place. Before you asked what helped me get through this moment of being paralyzed, and I really do believe it was, what I didn't mention is my freshman year when Lavelle Edwards invited me to come play for him. I went there, and passes that I would typically catch, I dropped. Routes I ran crisp, I stumbled and failed. Teammates who were encouraging me in high school, I had teammates who were discouraging me, and it was just too much. I couldn't handle the pressure. And so my dreams were challenged and my desire was tested. And I learned something about desires and about resilience. And Thor, it makes me embarrassed to think about it to this day, but I quit. I went into the coach's office and said, "Hey, coach, I can't handle this. I'm done." And then to make matters worse, I told my parents that I was cut. So not only did I give up on my dreams, I lied. And however, I learned a powerful lesson in that moment, and that was, when your desires are not definite and do not match up with your dreams, we allow the demons of doubt and fear to creep in and paralyze us, and debilitate us with it. Paralyze us with a debilitating darkness. And because our desires are going to be competing, they're going to be conflicting, and they're constantly at
odds.
At odds, right? You experience that. My friends have experienced. I have a friend who wants to lose weight, but in between sentences is saying, "Hey, Griff, I want to lose weight." He's taking a bite from his Twinkie and drinking a sip from his Big Gulp. He's like, "I want to lose weight." And I was asking, like, does this guy have a desire or not to lose weight? And a lot of them are like, "No, he doesn't." But I'm like, I think he does have a desire to lose weight. I just think he has a greater desire to eat.
Yeah. And
I learned a powerful lesson there that, I took a 2-year break. Went out to Spain, came back, and learned a powerful lesson. And I call it P squared. It's the possibility principle. I call it P squared. And during those 2 years, I discovered this truth. And I believe that if you understand it, if you understand this one single principle and put it into practice, you'll open the door to endless possibilities. And, I call it P squared. It's the possibility principle. In fact, if your listeners want it, they can text DREAM to 801-316-8689, and I'll send them the template to it. But I believe that this principle helped me develop a burning desire that matches that matched my dreams. It allowed me to give myself permission to fail when I was learning new things. As I mentioned before, it also helped me be comfortable being uncomfortable, because it's in the struggle where we find the strength. And so often when we start feeling uncomfortable, we stop doing what we're doing. But it's in that discomfort where we find this, we find the strength in the struggle. And of course, I also learned this principle also helps you learn that it's in the process, not the promise, where it helps us progress. So often we look at the promise and saying, okay, if you do A, B, and C, then you'll get X, Y, and Z. So we look at X, Y, and Z, and we don't realize that it's in the process where it helps us progress. And then, of course, the last one I believe this possibility principle helps with is finding hope. And what I mean by that is being able to reach out to the future, bring it back to the present in spite of your past. And so this, so those two things, me experiencing that embarrassing moment of quitting, having my desire tested, and discovering this possibility principle, I really do believe forged inside me the ability to understand that, hey, listen, I do have the ability to achieve my dreams and desires. I do have the ability to go beyond what I see. And so that event, I believe, really helped forge, the ideals that I just hold on to this day.
Yeah, I talk a lot about when I meet people and they tell me what they want to accomplish and what they're working on. And I always ask them the same question. Are you interested in that? Or are you committed to it?
Love it.
And, everybody's interested. Everyone wants a great body. Everyone wants to be fit. Everyone wants to be wealthy. But are you committed to it? Are you willing to do whatever it takes to actually get there? It reminded me of the Navy SEALs motto, or maybe it's not their motto, but one of their sayings is, embrace the suck.
Yeah.
This is going to suck. This is not going to be fun. This is going to be miserable. But as soon as you get to the point where you know it's coming and you just embrace it as part of the process, it just becomes so much easier. You talk about failure, and this is something I talk about quite a bit, because the fear of failure, every time I hear that saying, fear of failure, and people are they're paralyzed by it. And I think, for myself, that failure is just part of the system, part of the process. And when failure arises, and it's going to arise, I mean, look, when we were children learning how to walk, we just didn't get up one day and just start walking.
Right.
Medical technology comes around and you start walking again, you're going to fail at it miserably for a long time. You're going to relearn how to do that. But it's not about the failure. It's just about that keep going. When do you think we've gotten to the point, it seemed like as children, we embraced failure. It was like, all right, it's just part of the process. We just couldn't tie our shoes, couldn't walk, and we just make it work.
Right.
Adults, when do you think that shift happens, or what happens where we just go, oh no, it's failure? Because there's a difference between failing and being a failure, right? One's
absolutely,
and one is, who we are.
Yeah. In fact, what's interesting here is, there's a new movie coming out, Neil Armstrong going to the moon. And I'm excited to go out there and see that. But what's interesting is, as they shot the rocket off from Earth to the moon, they were off course 90% of the time. They failed their way to the moon. And if people will understand that concept, that, hey, you know what, we're going to fail our way to wherever we want to go. And the key is we need to know where we want to go. And so, just that idea of, listen, we got to give ourselves permission to fail. And as you mentioned, like kids, they just do what we ask them to do. And that's part of the possibility principle. And what I failed to mention was the principle itself is that which we persist in doing becomes easier for us to do. And so kids, right, they don't know how to brush their teeth. They don't know how to write letters and sentences. But the more they practice, the more they do it, it just becomes second nature. Yeah. And so we have to reframe our world, and we have to, I believe that the solution to pollution is dilution. We've got to retrain and reprogram our thinking. And that's why I think it's so important to give ourselves permission to fail. There's to a certain extent, right? Whenever we're starting something new, give yourself permission to fail. I don't want my doctor failing. I don't want the pilot failing. I don't want, there's certain things that you just don't want to fail, but that's at a certain point. But whenever we're learning something new, you know what, really, the engineers that got those astronauts to the moon, they failed 90%. They were off course 90% of that journey. And so find out what your vision is, find out what your dream is, and embrace the suck. Absolutely.
Yeah. It's funny. Just yesterday, I just got done with a 75-mile bike ride. And I remember it was one of my faster rides. I got done and I said, just a few months ago, I was going out here and I was doing 25 or 30 miles and I was ending up and it just wiped me out for the entire day. And I said, what a difference a couple months make, some training, and pretty soon the things that were just impossible before become possible.
Yeah.
And football, when you're playing football and you're running the ball and you fail, quote unquote, you get tackled. Mm-hmm. What's the coach tell you to do? Fall to the left, fall to the right, fall backwards, or fall forward? Every time you're falling, there's a way to just get a couple extra inches there. So when the ball gets remarked, it's like, all right, we got another, couple feet here.
Yeah,
just
absolutely.
Moving.
Fail forward, right?
Yeah.
That's what we like to say is that, fail forward. Learn from them. Look at your challenges as opportunities and just this ability to reframe. This I call it an attitude adjustment because attitude helps us look at things differently. And what's interesting is the instrument in the plane. You probably know this with all your traveling, but the instrument in the plane that gets the plane from point A to point B is called the attitude meter. And
the attitude, okay.
So it's really called the attitude meter, and it just moves the plane left and right, up and down, and it gets you there. But if a plane's going from LA to New York and it's just off 1 degree, it's going to end up in Washington D.C. or Boston, Massachusetts. Not a big deal, right? Unless you want to go to New York. And so that's why I believe that there's 3 main components in helping us accomplish the impossible or helping us solve for possible. We were talking about a desire. The other one is a dream. You got to have a clear, concise dream. Because if you don't know where you want to go, then none of this really matters.
Yeah, and so often that is the case. As a matter of fact, I was just working with 2 clients this morning, and I said to them, I said, look, we keep going around and around on some things here, but until you, 2 separate occasions, until you exactly understand where you're going, what that's going to look like, all the time that we're spending trying to figure out a plan how to get somewhere is a waste of time. We've got to be really clear and set this thing in stone. And look, the plan's going to change, right? As soon as you start moving, it's like, okay, that's not working. We got to do something else. This is not working. But you got to know where you're going.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely true. And what's interesting, and maybe you do this with your clients, one thing that I've found and learned with people helping them create this vision and create these dreams is, I give them 30 seconds. I like them to have them brain dump. Just get all these ideas out. So I give them 60 seconds to tell me all the things that they want to do. And they hit the wall within 20 to 30 seconds because they're like, I don't know what else I've got. So then I'm like, okay, let's start somewhere else. Look, I'll give you 60 seconds to talk about all the things you don't want.
Yeah.
And then they'll just start flying off. They'll just start, I don't want this, I don't want that, this, and they'll keep on going. I'm like 60 seconds up. No, wait, I'm not done yet.
Yeah,
and
exactly.
Keep on going.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, I get this now. Great. So here's all the things that you don't want. Let's start with the things that you do want. Again, I'll give you 60 seconds, and let's just simply write down the opposite of what you don't want. I don't want to be out of shape, so you want to be in shape. I don't want to be broke, so you want to be wealthy. I don't want to be dumb, so you want to be intelligent. So, you just start doing these things, and then they start to get in this groove of, okay, now I'm starting to understand what I do want.
Yeah.
And what I like to do is
real specific too. Well, I want to be in shape, but what I really want is,
Yeah, no, absolutely. And so you can just start to do that, and then I have them to rip their page in half. They one side they got their negative things that they don't want, and the other half they got the positive things. I'm like, okay, now grab the list that you want, and hopefully they'll grab the list of the positive things, and then I'm like, bring it to your eyes as close as you can. And then eventually the list gets right there in front of them, and they can no longer see what they don't want because they're focusing on what they do want. And that's one major thing that I've learned with my accident is I told the doctors I was going to walk again. And they gave me all the reasons why I couldn't. Like, Griff, you can't walk again. We've cut you open, cut you from your belly button to your back. We've opened you up. We went and cleaned up the shrapnel of your back. We have a 4-inch metal plate in there, 2 screws on top, 2 screws on the bottom. You're not walking again. Don't get your hopes up. And they kept on focusing on what I couldn't do. And so when I told the therapist in my dream, I'm like, I want to walk again, the therapist is like, let's go. And we focused on what we could do. And what I could do was I could put some braces on my legs, and with the aid of the therapist, I could get myself up on the parallel bars. It took me 5 minutes to get there. It took me a half an hour to get out of my bed into the wheelchair before I even made it to the therapy room and then another 5 minutes to get up on those parallel bars. And so, but I continued to focus on what I could do, not what I couldn't do. And that was part of my reframing, the attitude adjustment. I had to adjust my attitude and look at things different.
Interesting. With all the changes in medical technology that just seem like they're racing at us at hyper speed, does it look like stem cell might be one of the areas that might be a possibility?
Oh, they're doing some great things in that area. It's been over 20 years since I've been in a wheelchair, and I don't know how this will work out or whatnot, but it's been over 20 years ago. The experts told me I would never stand, never walk, never move my legs again. I'm just going to back up here a little bit. I am going to use my desk here, but I don't know.
Whoa!
So I'm up.
Whoa!
Yeah.
Listening on the podcast, he just stood up. Wow.
So I can stand now. In fact, I just climbed on the elliptical bike this morning. And I say climbed because I literally climbed up on the elliptical bike and went 5 miles on the elliptical bike. And the doctors gave me 0 chance of standing and moving.
Wow.
And so that first time I got on the elliptical bike, though, was about 5 years ago. I was looking at the elliptical bike. I was in the weight room, pumping iron and whatnot. And I saw the elliptical bike, and I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to try it. So I lifted my leg out of the wheelchair, put it on, the footrest there, and I pulled myself up onto the handrails. And anyways, it took me 15 minutes just to climb up on the elliptical bike. And then I went 15 seconds with it because I don't have to lift my legs up, but it's,
right.
It's movement. Yeah. And I went 15 seconds and I was just exhausted. And I literally just collapsed into my chair. But as I mentioned before, that which we persist in doing becomes easier for us to do. And I keep on looking at things with what I can do. What can I do? And at that moment, 5 years ago, I was able to climb up into the elliptical bike. And now I can stand. Now I can waddle across the stage with swagger. And one of these days, I'm going to box out my son on the basketball court, give my daughters piggyback rides, walk them down the aisle, and go on walks on the beach with my wife.
That's amazing. Well done. Tell me about the world records. What are those? Yeah,
so world records. I was, one of the things that I was doing while trying to chase down this dream of walking again. I love sports. I came across a team called the Utah Will and Jazz. Each NBA team has a wheelchair basketball team. And so joined the team there. And every year the NBA kicks off their all-star game with the wheelchair league. So we come in there on Thursday and we have our all-star game. And then they kick us out to bring in the big boys, but I like to think that we were the big boys. And so I participated in the All-Star game 8 times. And one of these times, Guinness World Records was there. Like, we want to do an event here. And it was a first-time event. And so the first time they had it was the number of free throws, the most free throws from a wheelchair in a minute. That was the event that they wanted to do. And so they picked 3 from the East, 3 from the West. They asked me if I'd be one of them. I'm like, absolutely. And as a little boy, I'd open up that Guinness World Record book, and I'm like, yeah, I want to be in here. This would be kind of cool.
Yeah.
Right? But I'm like, I don't want to grow my fingernails out. I don't want to collect the belly button lint or all that crazy stuff. And so, Winston Churchill talks about where in everybody's life there's an opportunity where life figuratively taps you on the shoulder. And if you're unprepared, I'm paraphrasing here, and he's like, if you're unprepared for that, then it will pass you by. I've had a lot of opportunities pass me by, but I'm like, this one I'm going to take advantage of.
And you won it.
Yeah, go ahead.
And I said, and you won it.
Yeah, I did it, right? I went through 5 of them went through there. I went up there. We had the number 2 free throw shooter, the best free throw shooter in the world, according to the Paralympic stats. He went up there and made 6 in a minute. And then the next guy, who was the 4th best free throw shooter in the world, Jeff Glassbender is his name. In fact, he just summited Mount Everest in 2017, first American amputee to summit. Wow. He taught Dwayne Johnson how to walk with the gates in skyscraper. And so this guy, this guy's an athlete. He's pretty amazing. He got 9 in 60 seconds. And then, so I went up there and I have this routine. I call them holy habits and righteous routines. As entrepreneurs and leaders, you've got to develop those routines that are, they're just in your DNA, that you're not going to miss it. And they're so holy that, these habits are so holy that you're just make sure that you do them all the time. So I went through my routine and didn't get 6, didn't get 9. I got 25. So
25?
25, yeah.
A minute.
Yeah.
Whoa, that's like that little that game, that little thing at the arcade. You just keep shooting. So someone just kept beating your balls and just.
Yeah, so we had the mascots, the cheerleaders. They were just feeding us the balls, and we're just going as fast as we can. And the official count was 25. My teammates on the sideline said 26, and there hasn't been anybody who's been able to beat it so far. And so it's been fun. That was a great experience.
Wow, it just brought back a memory for me. I was actually I am in the World Book of Guinness Records. That it was what's the game where they have the paintball? It was the world's largest paintball game or challenge or war. It was we were on a bachelor party. We decided to go to play paintball. It was 20 years ago.
Nice.
And we went to play paintball. We show up, and there's just these fields and fields of all these people. It's like, what's going on? They're like, oh, yeah, didn't you hear? Like, this is the weekend where we're doing the world, record for the largest thing. That is not the time to go as just kind of rookies, just, rolling off a bachelor party, because there's serious commandos. There was a guy with a whole Christmas tree thing on his back. They had smoke grenades. They had they had buglers. We stuck around for 3-4 hours, got shot up by some serious weapons. And we had the rentals, right? They were just going.
Yep.
So we got out of there. But
that's awesome. But you got a Guinness World Record. I like it.
Matter of fact, I got to add that to my bio. It wasn't in there. You just reminded me of that. That was pretty funny.
Fantastic.
So we can have a little brotherhood, World Guinness Records, holders. We can meet for cocktails, do vacation.
Absolutely. Break some bread, right? Get together.
I'm seeing a whole nother business that we could set up here. That's what entrepreneurs do, right? It's like, oh, what can we do now?
I can do this. Absolutely.
Well, man, this has been absolutely amazing. Yeah, I know you do a lot of speaking around the country, and what amazing work. And I'm looking forward to the day that you're up and walking again. Man, you were on your way. You totally blew my mind when you just stood up there. It was absolutely amazing.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you. And what's interesting is it's been 20 plus years, and just that itself took me 5 minutes, but right there it was just a few seconds. Boom, I'm up. In fact, my friends who are in wheelchairs are like, Griff, you're really not in a wheelchair. I'm like, okay. And I'm really not able-bodied either. And so where am I? I'm like, no one wants me.
Or everybody can have you, right? Both
right.
Can have you. It's true. It's the things that we do when no one's looking, day after day, year after year, that continues to grow. They stack on each other. And people look at that and go, oh, it's an overnight success. Well, no, it may have been to their, what it looks like is an overnight success, but it's all those hours, all those difficult times. And I think if there's anything that we could leave, or at least I could leave from this show is, get over your fear of failure. Go out there and just do it. Just keep picking yourself up. It's not about falling down. It's about just getting up. And it may take you months. It may take you years. I had a client just got back from Vermont. We have this challenge where you go up a mountain. We were talking about Utah. We did it out in Utah. I failed there. I did it in Vermont and failed. Did it in Utah and I failed. And a client of mine, she just sent me her picture of getting up Stratton Mountain 17 times for the equivalent of Mount Everest. And she had her medal in one hand and flipping me a finger in the other one.
Number one sign, right?
The number one sign. That's right. Just taunting me. And I said, look, I found out 2 ways not to do it successfully. And the cool part is I get to go back next year and have as much fun again and do it. Now, for her, it's already over, right? She did it. It's done. Right. No, it's over. Now I'm like, I've got a whole year looking forward to this. So failure allows you to go back and have some more fun at it. So
Absolutely.
Tell the audience how they can get in touch with you.
Yeah, so 2 ways, right? Again, if you text DREAM at 801-316-8689, I'll send you that template of the P squared possibility principle. And if you want to get a hold of me and have me come and speak or share some things with you, you go to www.griffinmotivation.com and you can go to the contact button and it'll come straight to me. That's GRIFFIN motivation.com. Just like the mythical beast. I like to think that, the mythical beast, which I am. But so griffinmotivation.com, and be happy to strike up a conversation. And hopefully you'll enjoy that. There's no question. There's no question in my mind that you put into practice that principle, the possibility principle, and the possibilities are endless. They're endless. And we have the ability inside us to find and discover those answers. And like you said, Vince Lombardi said, man cannot dream himself into character. He must hammer and forge one for himself. And so not only do we have to have a clear, concise dream and a definite desire, but we have to get out there and we need to do all that we can, even if it's at a snail's pace. And, but listen, if you hear that song that sings to your soul, listen to it.
Yeah. And do the work.
Absolutely.
This concept seems to be lost on a lot of folks. You got to do the work.
Yeah.
Get in there, dig in, do it.
Yes.
And thanks for coming on today. I appreciate it.
Thor, it's been my pleasure, man. I'm glad to meet a fellow Guinness World Record holder, man.
That's
this
right.
has been great.
Note to my team: make sure you get that into my bio.
That's right.
All right, brother. Thank you very much, man.
Hey, thank you for your time.
Have a great day.